Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us to another Ask the Kabbalist show. With me as always, ready to answer all your questions, Kabbalist Dr. Michael Laitman. Let's start with the first question right away. This one is from Sherman Oaks from Los Angeles. It's a video question. Let's watch it.
If a person commits suicide and does not complete his purpose in this world, does he ever come back here to complete it?
I don't know what he means by he returns. Of course, his soul is uncorrected and it returns. And that's how it is with each and every one of us. None of us complete the correction in our short lifetime. But time and time again we return in order for the soul to complete what it has to do on one of its incarnations and not have to incarnate again.
So it doesn't matter really if a person committed suicide or just died a natural death, if someone hasn't completed...
No. If he commits suicide, it means that he doesn't want to take part in the correction. That's actually the problem. But if he dies a natural death, it means that from above he was prevented from continuing the correction. That's the difference. But eventually, the sum total is the same. He has to return.
Let's expand on this for a bit, if we can. What do you think causes a person to commit suicide in general?
Well, that could be psychological problems having to do with the root of the soul. There are many reasons for it: envy, lust, honor, psychiatrical problems, big despair that a person senses these days in our world. You see, suicide is on the rise, especially in Europe.
Yeah, precisely in all the wealthy countries, it seems to happen.
Yes, not in Africa.
Does it have anything to do with spirituality? If a person commits suicide, does it have to do
with... Yes. We've reached a state where our will to receive, with respect to all that we have in this world, towards all that we have on earth, it's not satisfied by it. Our will to receive as if wants to break out higher, upwards, someplace, but it doesn't know where. It's somewhere in between this world and the spiritual world. The spiritual world has not yet opened up before us in order for us to keep developing there. And in this world, we feel that it's not worthwhile investing your strength and powers into it. And then when we're in between, we have nothing to enjoy. We have no point in living. We don't have a reason to continue with this life, even though this life isn't really that much suffering. But when there's no purpose, it doesn't matter whether there's suffering or not. The lack of purposefulness, the question of why, what for, that actually takes a person out of life and he commits suicide.
But you know, it does look like people are still trying to enjoy so many things in this world. You know, this was the year that people bought so many cars than ever before.
Of course, we create an endless amount of pleasures merely to confuse ourselves in order for us not to think that our life is empty. What can you do? But eventually, we can't succeed. In previous generations, yes, we made revolutions in human society, technological revolutions, we went to the moon, whatnot. Today, it's no longer appealing. What for? And there's no answer to it. I simply don't want it, don't need it. I don't think that it will give me something. On the contrary, it will give me greater emptiness. Why start to begin with if at the end of the path, once again, I'll see emptiness, nothing? And thus, a person has no idea why to leave home. You see, there are many people who prefer give him a bit of something in order to survive and he won't leave home.
Yeah, it's true. Going back to the suicide issue for a second, I wanted to ask whether you said something like that. I'm not sure I heard it correctly. If a person commits suicide, does it go against the nature, against the plan of creation?
Yes, it is against the plan of creation because it's forbidden for a person to commit suicide. Each and every moment he has to see that now, in this world, at this present moment, he can perform actions that he will not be able to perform in any other way. actions that have to do with the correction of his soul. And specifically in this world, can you correct the soul? In this world, a person can bring himself to a state where the spiritual world opens before him and he keeps on living thus, that he rises from the plane of this world to the next plane, the plane of the spiritual world. He keeps on going there and doesn't feel that he dies. His body dies, but he, in the meantime, has risen to a spiritual degree. He starts feeling the spiritual world, and thus he no longer identifies himself with his body. He doesn't feel connected to it, and the body dies. So it dies, so what? But the I, in the meantime, I started feeling myself in a higher form of existence with which I identify myself with, and in it I live and exist. And you can take the body, no problem. To an extent to which a person doesn't feel that the body is dying and it's as if suffering. No, doesn't feel that.
A Kabbalist doesn't feel physical suffering?
Depends. Whether he's led to feel it or not, that's a question. But usually, no. He doesn't feel death as something painful.
This is interesting. You know, there are stories about Rabbi Akiva, I believe.
That's not the point of death. He was killed, murdered, cut up with knives. That's something else. I'm talking about this corporeal, bodily life leaving a person.
Okay, and such a suffering, torments like that story about Rabbi Akiva. It was
that, of course, undoubtedly that he feels that.
Okay. Well, there's more questions here. The next one is coming from Karen. She's from Philadelphia. It's another video question. Let's see what Karen has to say.
Hi, my name is Karen from Philadelphia, and I have a question. How do we deal with the question that arises in us about who am I to embark on this path? That is, what is the role of humility in spiritual ascension?
I don't exactly understand what she's asking.
I think, Kabbalists or the Kabbalistic texts mentions a lot this notion of humility, modesty. So what is that in spirituality? What are they talking about?
It has nothing to do whatsoever with the psychological aspect that usually people mean by, if it's humility, then I have to feel humble towards others and I limit myself in everything, I restrict myself, I have to feel myself less than others.
There is something spiritual in that, no? If I'm...
Not at
why
all.
not?
Not at all. Nothing. A person, as a result of physically limiting himself, it doesn't mean that he becomes more spiritual. Or we see in India, there are billions of people, not only in India, all over the world, that think that fasting helps. You breathe less, you become more spiritual. You eat less, you become more spiritual.
But Kabbalah says you got to rise above your ego. It sounds like it's pretty close to what... Isn't it the same thing? Rising above your ego, not trying to show yourself so much.
That's not at all the ego that a person has to transcend. You, according to your character and the way I see you, maybe you add half a kilo a day of food. And I eat, I'm an important person, I'm big, so I eat 3 kilos of food a day. So who's more spiritual? You are. Because you limit yourself, you don't need a lot. A fly is wants even less.
Okay.
That's how it is. It has nothing to do with one another. All of the definitions that we take from our world have nothing to do with spirituality whatsoever. Neither does our body have anything to do with spirituality, nor does our psychology have anything to do with spirituality. It's all a part of our body here. And the attributes which we have to acquire in order to achieve spirituality, those are different attributes. It's also not our corporeal ego. It's not. I was born, and I live and develop in this world with my ego. I don't have to destroy it. I don't have to decrease it in order to achieve spirituality. I don't have to work with this ego at all. My character, my current I, has nothing to do with spirituality whatsoever. That which exists in me at the moment doesn't stop me from spirituality.
So what does Kabbalah mean when it says you have to rise above that ego? What is the ego that it's talking about?
So, first and foremost, now look according to history. Abraham, he came out of Babylon. He became a Kabbalist. Also, the group he took with him, a few thousands of people from ancient Babylon, and they started walking. Till that point, it's not an ego nor a group nor anything, till they come to Egypt. As they get into Egypt, they acquire their ego, and when they come out of Egypt, thus, they merit, they receive the Torah in order to correct their ego, and by correcting their ego by the Torah, they merit to enter the land of Israel and build the temple. Only when you start studying Kabbalah do you acquire your ego, your resistance, all your questions, problems, and desires that are against spirituality. And them you have to later correct, and not the ordinary corporeal ego. It has nothing to do with that. It doesn't interfere.
Only someone who studies Kabbalah has ego?
Yes, a real one. All the rest, these are simple, ordinary people with a small ego. In this world, that's how everyone behaves, and so what? They can keep on doing it. Thus, when we start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, one of the very first principles that we hear is, do not try to change, meaning to correct what you have in this world. Keep on living the way you are. And the study, it will start growing your new ego, the great big ego, which is as if against the Creator, against spirituality. And it you'll have to correct and work with in order to acquire the spiritual world. And all that has to do with your body and your family and life here and now, before you start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, that doesn't come as an addition from the study. That's all your plain corporeal ego. It's not even called an ego.
Can I be, I don't know, rich and famous and drink a lot of alcohol and do whatever I want, go party? Can I do all of that and study Kabbalah and rise above my ego?
Take all the pleasures, everything in this world, all at once.
All at once?
Yes.
Okay.
And keep on doing it. Only alongside with it, study Kabbalah. And that which will develop as a result of the study, that will be the real ego. And what you have from all that you talked about, no problem.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because we transcend. When you start studying, you transcend all these corporeal things. And gradually they, as if disappear, dissolve. You stop working with them. You stop giving them any importance.
What's that ego that becomes revealed? That now it sounds scary if it's not...
That's the ego which is called Pharaoh. That's the ego that's specifically against the Creator, against spirituality. It's on the same level, on the same height. Pharaoh against the Creator. And down below, it's our small world with all its petty games. Thus, it's something altogether different. It's a different dimension. Such questions, problems, rejections, queries about the Creator against the spiritual world, that a person in our world, he doesn't feel it.
Like wanting to exploit the Creator, like wanting to take advantage of
Yes, true.
I see. Okay, so there's a whole...
So everyone can calm down and keep on with their ordinary lives.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Let's...
And besides that, the wisdom of Kabbalah does not demand the person to take on himself any restrictions. You can be a Christian, You can practice any religion, doesn't matter. You can be a vegetarian or constantly eat meat or sex, or you can have any sexual inclinations, whatever you want.
It doesn't have to do
Whatever
with
you have in this world, keep it. Only alongside with it, start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. And that which will develop as a result will be spirituality.
Let's go on to another question. This one is coming from James from Missouri. It's an audio question. And let's hear what James has to say.
My name's James. I'm from Lee Summit, Missouri. And I just wanted to ask Rav Lightman, I know what is the role or the aim of society, knowing that we need some major changes right now? What's the goal, or what is the aim that society should have over here in the United States and I guess in the English-speaking world? Thank you.
Since the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's not simply coming as some nice addition, but it comes against the general collective crisis that's developing in the world, and we're only at its beginning, and it will be a crisis which will draw into it like a hurricane that draws everything inside it. This crisis will take all of people, the whole of humanity in all fields, families, kids, food will be harmed, economics, the financial system, workplaces, relation between man and his family and the environment altogether, and along with general ecology that's encompassing us from all sides. The crisis is happening everywhere, meaning it's really closing down on us from all sides. And the wisdom of Kabbalah thus is revealed because it reveals to us the law of equilibrium, which we have to achieve with nature. And if we'll know how to keep balance with nature, we'll reach the best possible life, really comfortable life, such that we'll simply feel good in everything. We, the kids, work, future, health, security, pension, vacation, everything. Because this law of balance with nature, it organizes our whole lives in the particular and in the general. And thus the wisdom of Kabbalah first and foremost teaches how a person has to organize his environment, how it should influence each and every one. We have to organize our environment such through the media lines, each and every one, even from word of mouth, even though we're in the civilization of the internet and in a virtual civilization, specifically because of that, so it's said,
the strongest influence.
That this development, the extension of the rumors and knowledge, and especially thoughts, come from one person to the other directly and not through the media lines. And thus, we have to want to build such an environment that will influence each and every one and convince him that we're in need of reciprocity, mutuality, mutual consideration, that through it we achieve balance with nature, so that the influence of the environment over a person will be a good one, to be saved of all the blows and the problems. In order to survive, we have to build such an environment that would shame a person if he doesn't behave well with his environment. Because the environment, it's like nature. If we build it in a good way, then that's the very same way nature will relate to us. That's what the wisdom of Kabbalah says. And if our environment will be bad, to the same extent, the whole of nature, with all its systems, will be harmed.
Back to another part of James' question. He asked whether the English-speaking part of society in the world I don't know, maybe in the United States or not only, do they have do you see a specific role that they have in educating the world, like you said?
Of course, because America, it's not in vain that it developed, it truly developed to an extent to which it sets an example for the world, and the American people really want to set an example for the world. And it's not really a secret that lately it's not really a good example. And thus, he has an opportunity now to see what the wisdom of Kabbalah says, how it speaks about the correction of the world rationally. It bases itself entirely on science and on logic and common sense, and it tells us what we have to do. And if the English speakers, and especially the American people, will take that, undoubtedly could it spread around the world and bring the world to correction. Thus, I have great hope that eventually it will be heard. And specifically through the English speakers, through America.
Also through the regular standard media tools that exist today in America, like Hollywood, like...
Truly through all those media lines and the ways that people are used to getting it, it should come to them. Although it's possible that we've developed a very big and serious site in the English language with all the Kabbalistic media and everything, but nevertheless, we've developed it as being professionals in Kabbalah, not in the different Hollywood forms of media and what an American ordinary person is used to consuming. So let's hope that they'll take it from there and process it, and we're ready to work together with them and presenting the wisdom of Kabbalah to each and every one in the world, because we see how it helps amongst those few millions that are connected to us for the time being. We see how their lives became unique, so why shouldn't it be shared by everyone?
Okay, I'll thank Dr. Lightman for being with us and answering all the questions. Thank you so much, and thank you for being with us. All the best.